Should Christians celebrate Easter or Christmas? As I was growing up, the one thing I really knew about Christianity was celebrating Christmas and Easter and getting lots of presents and candy. All the stuff about Jesus didn't really register with me until much later in life. All I knew was decorating a tree, buying everyone presents, decorating hard-boiled eggs, and looking for where my Easter basket was hidden. Many years later, I found out that Santa Claus was a lie, the Easter Bunny was a lie, and my parents had been the ones perpetrating the lies. Oh, but I was still supposed to believe in Jesus, despite all the lies. Then after going through the public school system, which taught me Darwinism, is it really surprising that I eventually assumed that Christianity was a lie too? But then fast forward to age 29, when I found out that Darwinism was the actual lie, and the Bible, a book I had never actually read before, despite being raised as a Christian, was actually correct about creation. It took almost 3 years, but I eventually was convinced that the Bible was correct about Jesus too. But I still knew Santa and the Easter Bunny were still lies. So during my research after becoming a born-again Christian, I learned a bunch of things that are being taught by various people about Christmas and Easter. I remember Chuck Missler and Michael Rood and Jeremiah Films all teaching me that these holidays were actually pagan in their origin. Christmas isn't in the Bible. We know Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. They came from pagans mixing their pagan practices with Christianity. And I still believe that there's a lot of truth to that. But the devil has tricked today's church into taking things too far. He's conned us into either following all the pagan practices, like most people do, or throwing out these two holidays completely. As with most doctrines, the truth is in the middle. The word Easter is found in the King James Bible. The word Christmas is not. Back in 2011, I had finally come to realize that the authorized King James Bible was perfect and had no errors in it. See my Why the KJV playlist for the reasons why I came to that conclusion. The link is in the description section below. So if my perfect Bible uses the word Easter, how do I make sense of it? First, let's deal with the skeptics who claim the KJV is flawed and it shouldn't say Easter, it should say Passover. Also in the description section of this video is a link to a great video by Nick Sayers explaining this stuff in detail. Please listen to it. Acts 12, verse 3 and 4. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison, and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Notice how verse 3 says, the days of unleavened bread. That means Passover had just happened. It could have been the day before or 6 days before. We don't know. But the point is, Passover had just happened, so it makes no sense that Herod would wait another 360 plus days until the next Passover. This makes me believe that the King James translators got it right and translated the Greek word, which always gets translated as Passover otherwise, as Easter. Think about it. Why would they make such an error? If the word always gets translated as Passover elsewhere, why would they suddenly switch it to Easter here? Because they read the verse before it and understood that it couldn't be talking about Passover. But I suspect they understood something else about the early church that we've forgotten today. Did you know that the ancient Jews celebrated more holidays than the original 7 feasts that God commanded? The book of Esther shows us the origin of Purim, and there's also Hanukkah, which originated after Malachi but before Jesus. In the same sense, I believe the apostles started new traditions that didn't get thoroughly explained in Scripture for us. For instance, 1 Corinthians 16 mentions the Lord's Day, but doesn't explain what that means. We commonly today call Sunday, the day most of Christianity goes to church, the Lord's Day. I believe Paul was talking about that tradition. And by the way, that tradition didn't switch the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. It has nothing to do with the Sabbath. It's simply a new tradition that began after the cross. Therefore, I believe both Christmas and Easter were new traditions started by the apostles that were supposed to be kept and remembered and honored over the last 2,000 years. But of course, the devil quickly attacked them and paganized them and turned them into the evil things they've become. Christmas is now all about Santa and retail sales, and Easter is all about egg-laying rabbits. So what should a Christian believe about Christmas and Easter and Sunday worship? I believe they should honor Sunday worship as the Lord's Day, but it's not a command. I believe they should celebrate the birth of Christ without any of the pagan practices like a tree. Jesus wasn't born on December 25th, but I believe he was probably conceived on December 25th. The documentary called The Star of Bethlehem makes me believe that. And if there's only one thing that a Bible-believing Christian should ever celebrate as a holiday, it's the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who confirmed that he was the Messiah by being raised from the dead. Ignore all the garbage about Ishtar just because it sounds close to Easter. Ignore all the fertility symbols like bunnies and eggs, but celebrate the event that ultimately led to your own salvation. Happy Easter. He is risen.